I should have removed that sound effect months ago. We haven't had an issue with it since I removed it. Hey, welcome to Outside the Cinema. What is Outside the Cinema, you ask? You didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It is your source for cult movie discussion. We've been using that tagline for far too long and should probably think of something new. But we've also been using this music for far too long and should also think of something new. But again,
also
we're old and out of ideas.
You don't like any of my ideas. Like, Outside the Cinema. It's a podcast, fuckface. Nobody wants that.
It's too on the nose.
That is
too on the nose.
That is true. Yeah.
Too on the nose. Anyway, welcome back to the show, everybody. Oh, man, we got a show for you today. Classic OTC fare, doing two, well, I guess they're both 80s movies, although the second one of the two you would never know that was made in the 80s. You would think it was made in like 1975. Yeah. We are doing 1988's Dream Demon.
Mm-hmm.
If you think it's kind of a ripoff of Nightmare on Elm Street, kinda.
Yeah.
In theory. In theory.
I would say more inspired by, because they do take it in a different direction.
For sure. They don't know which direction they're taking it in, but they do take it in that
every direction all at once.
And then the other film is known under a couple of different titles. It is 1987's Maniac Killer. You can watch that for free on Tubi. And actually, the other one you can watch on Shudder. Dream Demon's on Shudder.
Oh, that's right.
Maniac Killer is known under a few different names. Manic is one of them. It's one of those Italian productions where they were able to score a couple of has-been American actors. And they were like, well, we got these guys. Let's put them in a movie.
Yeah.
And we got Maniac Killer.
Yeah. We did.
Crazy. Crazy. I was just telling Chris, and I'll tell you guys too, end of June, we will be taking a hiatus of sorts. We'll probably have content to come out because we can plan for this, but I will be having a surgery to remove pieces of me. Not the Jewel song or the Ashley Simpson song.
Oh, okay, good. That's good.
So, pieces of my inside will go away, but it'll make me feel a lot better, so that's good.
It's your evil twin. They're finally taking out.
Yeah, it settled in my colon and my lower intestine.
Yeah, well, you always said he was a piece of shit, so.
Zinger ding zing. So that's what's going on with me. Chris, what's going on with you?
Stuff's going on with my kids. I'd say that I'm kind of happy about this. I don't brag about what my kids do because, like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like me. But they're doing their yearly Drama Fest, which is a statewide competition in Massachusetts for all the high schools. And they have there was one 2 weeks ago and then one last weekend, and they've advanced through both to the finals, which will be in 2 weeks in Boston, somewhere. I forget, close to where I work, but also Nova for the last one won an award for outstanding technical shit. I had this. She's a stage manager, and she won an award for being for being stage manager.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's I didn't know there were awards for telling people.
I thought you were going to say her one-person show of Starlight Express. She won the technical award for the.
I think they would
costumes.
I think they would choose the Apple before. I showed them a trailer for the Apple, and they're like, "We need to see that." I'm like, "You goddamn right." And I showed Ripley a trailer for Dogtooth, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I need to see that."
That's a different type. That's a little
it is
different.
Totally different, but you know,
we're like Starlight Express, the Apple, Dogtooth.
Why not? Yeah.
Friendly family fun.
Ripley is fascinated with the idea of raising your kids to believe just what you tell them and being able to define any words any way you want, because your kids are, in theory, never going to leave the house.
Right.
So that's a real quick, brief bullshit rundown of what Dogtooth is.
Fair. It's fair. That's awesome though. That they've done these competitions.
Yeah.
I love it, and they're doing well in them too. That's great.
They won last year. And
I knew that.
yeah, I was, and I'm surprised. Like, I always think it's like people are going to be like, oh well, they won last year, so fuck them this year, that kind of thing. But that's not the case. So that's good. And today, both of them submitted their own original plays to a statewide competition.
Oh, very cool.
I have no idea what Nova's is about. She kept it very quiet and to herself. But Rips, this is funny. She came up with this all on her own, by the way. It has nothing to do with any input from me. She's just, you know how the writers, they say writers should write what they know. Well, right. Rip is writing a story about a guy named Thomas who leaves the United States during World War I to get away from his abusive parents. Now, here's the funny thing. I don't think she purposely chose the name Thomas. It's my middle name and my father's first name. But also she named the characters because she remembered us talking about our grandparents and stuff. She named the grandfather Melvin, the father Melvin, which was my grandfather's name. And the mother Hazel, which is my mother's name. So it's not like based off of anything in particular or anything, you know. But holy shit, don't cross that kid because you'll end up in her plays. So I don't know. She hasn't let me read the final thing. It's due today. We did go over a lot of how narcissists behave and act and the violence that they can do and justify. And she's like, this isn't like, you know, this one fell in love with this one and then a vampire came along. This is like, she's talking childhood trauma here. At one point, the mother puts a cigarette out on her kid. That was all her. She has almost no input except for some character names that I may have hinted at, but I don't know. So, yeah, I seeing as how my parents still aren't talking to me, I may invite them to this because what happens usually is last year, one of the kids from Peabody High won the statewide competition and the drama teacher had them or allowed them to put on that play. So if Rip places at all in this, there's a good chance that they'll stage the whole thing. That's what it's called, right?
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if
I don't know either.
But that sounds right. So I'll say yes.
So that will be very interesting. Probably a little hard to watch because she has definitely taken phrases and sentences that my wife and I have said to each other while we've been talking about how I was raised. So, it's just,
we'll see.
It's awesome and uncomfortable all at the same time. It doesn't bother me because
awesome and uncomfortable. Name your sex tape.
It is. Am I supposed to agree to that?
Sure. It's your call, man. It's your tape.
I was thinking,
whatever, man, you're paying.
I was thinking it could be something that people, you know, if they know that's happening, like that was written based off of stuff that happened to them, they could be embarrassed. But like, I didn't do that to myself. So I'm not embarrassed by it because I had no control. So that was a strange place for me to find myself in. Like, okay with the whole
also
thing.
The name of your sex tape?
Yes. Yeah, well, if I had an autobiography, that would be it.
Speaking of autobiographies, Dream Demon is what we're going to start.
Nice segue. I like that.
Yeah, it's Dream Demon 1988. This is available to watch on Shudder. Let's see if there's a trailer.
To sleep, perchance to dream. But she could never sleep. She was afraid to sleep. Still, the dreams haunted her, terrified fighter.
This was our last known address. They died here.
Two young women who share a shattering reality, but quite different nightmares.
Who lived here before you?
Hello, dog mate.
I think I'm from here.
Just have to give me what I want. One on the brink of marriage. The other trapped in the deadly shadow of the past. A dream from which there is no escape.
But if I'm still asleep, and this is a dream, then for God's sake, wake me up.
May I have the pleasure?
Leave me alone. Diana! There's this little girl here. I don't know if she's real or not. I don't know if she's dead or not.
Two women.
Diana!
At the mercy of the demon in their dreams.
I'm awake.
Dream Demon.
Okay, Dream Demon, 1988, directed by Harley Cokeless, more like Harley Coked Up. Also, you guys would know him. He directed Battle Truck, which we covered a number of years ago, and he was an assistant director on Empire Strikes Back.
Really?
So, yeah,
Oh, well, yeah.
go figure,
okay,
dude.
if he's in the UK at the time, sure. Everybody in the UK was in the Empire Strikes Back, from what I understand.
And that's what I gather too. But he's best known as the director of Battle Truck, which is a cult favorite. I don't really remember it. I know we covered it. We did a while back when we used to do more themes. We did I think a month where we did like cool vehicle movies, and I think like Black Moon Rising was in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Battle Truck was one of the ones, like Super Bike and like.
You know what's funny? I was watching one
What?
of those compilations of old 70s and 80s trailers because I put that on sometimes when I draw just for background.
Obviously, man.
And the trailer for Battle Truck came up, and I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. Wait a minute. It looks a little familiar. Nah, fuck, I don't know. Oh, yeah, we probably. Oh, I have no idea. It's really funny that you bring that up because I didn't say that. I didn't mention that to a single person. But there it is.
So
There's Battle Truck again.
it is Harley Coked Up, director of many of films. This film stars Gemma Redgrave. She was in Howard's End and a couple other movies, but she's not a super recognizable British actress. The most recognizable person is probably Catherine Willett, who was also in Roadhouse and Fire in the Sky, and like she had a good run in the mid '80s of those like not even necessarily like supporting roles, like those complimentary roles where she would play the friend. I forget what. There's one specific '80s movie that I remember her from, and I just remember her wearing like a really bad fedora through most of it. And I can't remember what it was. She was like the friend.
Yeah, I definitely remember her from a bunch of things, but I can't because her face is so familiar.
Yeah.
But she also looks
what the
like
hell?
the dark-haired friend from Real Genius. So that throws me off when I'm trying to remember. But yeah, she's definitely a good actress. I like what she does. I like how she is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like if you scroll through, like I'm scrolling through her filmography right now, she did a ton. She's been in a ton of things.
Yeah.
But I wish I can't remember exactly what movie that was. I have this like it's like burned in my head of her like wearing this like fedora. Oh, she was in Witchboard too.
Yeah, definitely that.
Murphy's Law. Damn, this is gonna drive me nuts until I.
It wasn't private school.
Oh,
was it?
maybe it was private. It might have been private school.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some. I'll take a look.
It might have been private school.
Okay.
If you look at her IMDb, oh no, it was whatever she was in with Phoebe Cates. Was that private school?
Yes.
Then it was private school,
Okay.
which we've covered on the show also, I believe. Anyway, so Timothy Spall's in this also. He's another British actor that's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's
Jimmy Nail.
What's his face? Peter Pettigrew.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
He's gross. That's what he's hired for. he plays gross really well. Like Michael Shannon plays "This man is going to kill me" through my TV screen and not feel a thing about it kind of characters.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy's scary.
So the story of Dream Demon is we have Diana. She's going to be marrying Oliver. Oliver is a decorated war hero from the Falklands. But she's having these terrifying dreams about all kinds of different things. First one that we're introduced to is her at the altar with Oliver, where they're like, do you take Oliver, this decorated war hero, to be your husband? And she goes, no, I'm sorry, I can't. And his response is very metered and normal. He just slaps her across the face and says, thank you for embarrassing me in front of the admiral.
Absolutely. That is the 80s response.
Yep. But she wakes up and we find that it was a dream.
Well, we know it's a dream because she slaps him back. Right?
Oh, yeah. Got good point. Good point.
And I'm not going to say because that's a nice surprise. Although it's probably in the trailer. But
I don't remember if it was in the trailer.
That was a shocking start to the film.
Yeah, and I kind of wish the rest of the film had been able to keep up with the pace that it set coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
And it was not, unfortunately. So Diana's having these weird dreams. She talks to Oliver about it, and he's like, hey, listen, we're going to be getting married. There's a lot of stress. You just moved into a new home and all these things. All of these things can play into your dreams. Mm-hmm. And at this point, that makes sense. Yeah. All of that makes sense. He's like, you got a lot of press following you around because he's like this they keep talking about how he's a decorated war hero, but they never really tell us what he did.
No, well, because it was the Falklands and who cares?
Apparently people there.
I don't know. I don't know that much about the Falklands, but I know the Falklands are a tiny fucking island that just didn't agree or something. I don't know. I don't care.
Either way. So she has a friend that's a doctor, played by Susan Fleetwood, her Dr. Deborah. And she says the same thing. She's like, hey, listen, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And at this point, there's no reason to not be worried about it. She is traveling back to her apartment or her flat, and she is stopped by two people that are press, played by Timothy Spall and Jimmy Nail, Russ and Paul. And they're like, can we ask you a few questions about the marriage and everything? And she's like, well, I guess that's fine. Now, this played very well into other things I've been watching recently. So I don't know if you've watched it. You probably haven't. But the David Beckham documentary series that's on Netflix.
No.
I've been currently
already am completely bored with what you're saying.
It's actually really good. But there's a large chunk of that where Bex and Posh talk about how miserable their life was when they first got together because of the British tabloids and the British press.
That's fair.
And I've watched a few other documentaries recently where the British press is just fucking truly awful.
Oh, I remember the phone hacking scandals that were going on, and the papers or whatever you want to call it, the websites they lost because they're assholes and they invaded privacy and stole information and
boundaries with the British press whatsoever.
You can see with what's her name from Suits that's married into the family,
Meghan Markle.
Yeah,
Suits, bro.
The papers. I saw headlines that were just past borderline racist.
Yeah.
Headlines. What the fuck?
And that's modern day. That's within the last 10 years.
That's the last 3 years. What
Back in the 90s, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed Princess Diana, essentially.
Yeah. We talking about the Queen now?
Well, yeah. Yeah. But they were chasing her and your boy Dodie. And anyway, so I immediately am on the guard when these two British press stop her and they start asking her, tell us about the wedding. Yeah. And they immediately go from what color are the napkins going to be to be how big is his dick?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause
she's just wait, what?
There is a huge contingency of British people that are very polite and downplay things and apologize for a lot. To be proper, I guess is the right word. But then there's these guys.
Well, and the thing too is they're so just proper in the way they ask. They're all right, the wedding linens are going to be a cream white. That's wonderful. Now, how long does he last in bed, love? Yeah. It's wait, what?
And then they get so insistent, and it gets uncomfortable fast.
Very quickly. Yeah. And then Catherine Willett, Jenny shows up. She's an American who is visiting. She basically is like, you guys should leave her alone. And she proceeds to kick Russell in the nuts. And it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they go inside the house and the two of them are all pissed off because they can't, get the interview that they want to get.
Right.
So we learn that Jenny is visiting from America. She's learned that she was adopted when she was young and her family lived in Britain and lived potentially in the house where Diana now lives. And Diana's like, oh, my parents bought the flat for my as a wedding present. And they have this really nice like back and forth where so Jenny's like, oh, you're rich. She's like, well, I wouldn't say that I'm rich, but we've done okay. My parents have done well. I'm marrying a guy that's like very well known. She's like, so she knows like she's like prim and proper. And Jenny's like, oh, well, I'm some scrub from LA or whatever. But they have they build this cool little relationship and it feels real. It feels good.
Yeah.
But then Diana falls asleep, and has these weird dreams. Now Jenny is in the dreams. Oliver's in the dreams. And then Russell and Paul are in the dreams. And we're only like 20, 25 minutes into the movie at this point, but we're already losing any semblance of what the direction is supposed to be. Because from this point on, honestly, you can't tell what's a dream and what's real.
Right.
Because they don't set any type of boundaries to know what's what. And things change so quickly. And characters kind of fall in and out of like being there and then not being there. And then so they use Russell and Paul as kind of the main two antagonists in the dream. But now we're like, I might be getting a little ahead of myself here, but like, are they actually press guys or are they a dream demon of sorts or like, what exactly is the point and where are we going? Because I was at that point, I couldn't tell what was what.
Yeah, you don't know until the movie's over. What
even
was
then,
what.
I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
Even then, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it kind of works in a way for me because a movie about dreams should keep you guessing the whole time. You shouldn't. You should always be on your toes to like, is this a dream now? I have no fucking idea. And Nightmare on Elm Street does that okay. But this one takes it a step further and like there's like you could have a quadruple wake up from a dream and still be in the dream and you don't know. You don't know what's going on. Anything can happen. Which I appreciate it because I like it when I have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Did this do it well, though, is a good question. And I don't,
that's probably the better
I'm not
question.
sure it did, so.
Because the issue is that we never really find out what is haunting her.
Right.
We don't, there's no like... So we use the comparison to Nightmare on Elm Street, and they definitely use that as an inspiration, especially in these dream worlds where like they're in like sweaty, damp basements with like lights coming from places where there's just like shouldn't be lights and long drawn out tunnels and like all of these things that are very much inspired by the first few Nightmare on Elm Street films. But what Nightmare on Elm Street does is you have a very specific protagonist in Freddy Krueger that is like, this is the force that is coming for you. In this, there's no like force coming for her. We never find out what's happening, like in terms of like why she's being haunted. I mean, they give us a reason in terms of what she's trying to do, but we don't know, like it's called Dream Demon, but there's no Dream Demon.
Yeah. Yeah. That was disappointing.
That was disappointing at best.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I mean, it's just like the reporters, the press guys are presented sort of as the bad guys, but they're not around enough to be the villain because they kind of come in and out. They feel more like a room in a haunted house that you can walk away from. Because it's like, oh, hey, look, here he is looking all gross, eating gross food like Denethor in Lord of the Rings. Oh, now they're gone. And that's it. It's like, well, what was the what? Okay. Thanks.
And also like, so I guess Russell, like they talk about him being like the fat, gross guy. So of course, as he's in the dreams, he's showing up like being very gluttonous, like eating, like you said, gross food and being like, like getting more and more gross each time we see him. But then the other guy, Paul, looks like, I guess, a werewolf from Cursed. Like,
okay. Yeah.
Kind of. Or like if Ron Perlman's Beauty and the Beast character had short hair. That's what he looks like. So like he's supposed to be menacing, but he barely looks like an angry cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no explanation as to why that's what he looks like. At least the other guy, you're like, okay, he's gluttonous, I guess. Well, why does this guy look like a cat?
Because he's a predator, maybe? I don't know.
Sure.
That's just top of my head. I don't know. First thing I could. Whatever. I don't know. To make him scary. How about that?
But he's not scary. He's more adorable than anything else.
I know.
Either way, so the series of dreams, they lead up to what the reality of the story is supposed to be, which is that, spoiler alert, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jenny is the little girl that lived in the house when she was young, and there was a fire, and her father was killed, and there's all these other situations. So now we've had a number of fumbles at this point, and now we're going to have another one, because as we're seeing the dreams, we see the little girl in the dreams. She is this very pasty-faced, very white, long, very blonde hair girl that's being tormented by her father. And then we meet we know that Jenny is her older. Jenny has short black hair that's colored with blue and looks nothing like the child.
Right.
Now, listen, I get, okay, well, she could have dyed her hair, but it doesn't make sense to make the characters look so different. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that little girl couldn't have just had long black hair? Like facial features completely different. Their noses are completely different.
Yeah.
Like there's no way these two are supposed to be the same. Like they are supposed to be, but there's no way that they could be the same person.
Right. And I'm assuming that the filmmakers did that as they'll never guess this if we make them look different kind of
Right.
idea.
But it's like you'll never guess it, but that's because we shouldn't be able to guess it.
Yeah. Yeah, that girl, the little girl in this, she played the fairy in Legend, I found out. And I've never seen her outside. Yeah, Una. Never liked that name. But I've never seen her in anything else. So this wasn't as great as I was hoping. Because I want to see, I like people in small, odd roles. I like seeing them in other stuff as like regular people. That's all. It's nothing else to that. It's just.
So I'm reading here. So Annabelle Lannon, who played young Jenny, right?
Yeah. I hope I looked
was
up the
4
right
years
person.
older than Catherine Willett. Annabelle Lannon is 4 years older than Catherine Willett, despite playing the younger version of her character, Jenny. Is that correct?
How can that be?
Annabelle Lannon.
That doesn't.
Yeah, apparently so. And she just looked like a little girl, apparently.
Okay, that's.
Born in 1960, which meant she was 28 when they made this movie.
Okay.
1960. Catherine Willett was born in 1964. Yeah. Wow. Then it makes even less sense.
Let me look at the. Okay. All right. There's a still here of her, and you can see that she looks older, but when she's acting, it doesn't really come through for me. So, well, also she's not.
Well, they did a really good job of dressing her and makeup and the way they lit it and stuff.
That's true.
But that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane that we're supposed to believe that they're the same character.
Yeah, that's weird. But also, I mean, we did Jugface, and that girl was like 40 years old when she was playing a 22-year-old.
I mean, that can happen. I mean, you can
but
make
like,
that work. I mean, we had Beverly Hills 90210 for crying
but
out loud.
she looked the age that she was supposed to be in the movie. So
so did Andrea Zuckerberg.
I get it. I'm okay with that. Sure.
Still bizarre.
Oh yeah.
Bizarre. I just my problem with it is that the characters looked so different there was no way they could be the same person.
Right. Yeah, the eye shape.
So, anyway.
I think above all is the biggest
nose.
thing.
The nose. Catherine Willett has a very specific shaped nose.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. And it's
So,
not like she
either way.
talked about plastic surgery or changing her look
Nope.
or anything.
Nope, nothing. Nada. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Dream Demon, yeah. So we then, so we find out that Diana needs to save Jenny. But like, save her from what?
I don't know. Isn't it all over?
She
with?
escaped.
Yeah.
She had escaped. She had moved to LA. She was adopted. She says she's like, I had adopted parents that took really good care of me.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this. It doesn't comes down to like it doesn't really make any sense in terms of what they are trying to accomplish here, because you don't give us a protagonist unless you want to count the two press guys, but we don't even know at the end of the day if they were demons or if they were just press guys that got caught in the house or whatever.
Mm. Yeah, it is still questionable.
We don't know. Yeah. Like we're seeing these ghosts and stuff, but as far as we know, she's only seeing that stuff in her dreams. And then when she saves Jenny, but Jenny wasn't like, she ended up getting trapped in the dream world because she came back. Like it is all just very lazy in its storytelling. And it doesn't really give you any type of like clear cut what's actually happening.
Yeah. If she had come back to like put something to rest or find an object of power or something, that might have been something, but yeah, there wasn't.
It's not all bad though. I will say that. I think it starts very strong. This, I want to say too, was a made for TV film, if I'm not mistaken, only because there's quite a amount of parts where it just like fades to black where there would be a commercial and then comes back multiple times throughout the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't
find anything about it being made for TV.
I did get a few movies in my time as a 35 millimeter projection guy. A couple of them faded in and out at the end of the reels, which made it fucking impossible to cut. But because where's the last frame? Right. But yeah, it's possible, but yeah, it makes sense to have that be a TV thing.
It's because it happened. It happened at least 4 or 5 times throughout. But I thought it looked actually quite good in terms of the cinematography and the special effects that they were doing with what I can only imagine was a fairly low budget. So its look and feel were good. I thought the acting was actually pretty good in it. Its biggest issue is its storytelling for me. You?
Yeah, the story is absolutely bland and forgettable, I think, because I couldn't. Ask me in a week, I won't remember what this was about. But I will remember the last scene of the movie.
When they come through the wall?
Yes. There was a shot there that I watched 7 times because I wasn't sure how they did it. So, spoilers for everybody. And there's your warning. At the end, the guys bust back through one of the basement walls, the cellar walls, and then they're like, "Oh, we made it. It's fine. We're good." And then Pettigrew there, he's missing an ear. He's just got a hole, and then the ear pops out of his head. It just unfolds into a full ear, and that was done on set, and that looked amazing. Because I watched over and over and over again, and I did it frame by frame as far as I could, and they folded this silicone ear up and somehow popped it out at the right point, and it looked flawless. It was the best effect in the whole movie. And one of the more like interesting trick kind of effects that I've seen in a movie where like you have no idea what to expect, and they pulled it off. Whoever did that like needed to get a raise because that was fantastic. There was no bulge on the side of the head to make it look like there was something under it. Nothing. Very surprised. So for a fraction of a second, I was very surprised by this movie.
All right, let's
Mission failure.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for Dream Demon?
I don't think I'm going to recommend it because it's got an idea, it's got a direction to go, but it doesn't follow any normal path to get you there. And you're not really, there's no villain. There is, but there isn't. Like the press are like a second tier. Like if this was Cannonball Run, like they're not the cops. They're just another racer that doesn't get a lot of screen time. That's trying to stop the main characters.
They're not there enough.
Yeah, but the bad guy who's supposed to be, I guess, the father. Like, what effect does he have on her? Why? Why is he still? I don't. Whatever. So I'm gonna give it a C minus. And it saves it from a D, just a regular D, with that really the practical effects were better than I had anticipated. And better than the movie deserved, I think.
Fair. Yeah, I'm not going to recommend it. I think its cinematography is good. It's shot well. It's lit really cool. There are some cool little special effects parts. But the story is just such a fucking mess, man. Not without having like, your actual protagonist. I mean, I guess that the two press guys are supposed to be some sort of sleep demon and some sort of, like they're supposed to be the protagonist. But like you said, they come and go so much that like,
yeah,
they're not like driving anything. There's no point where like, yes, we've trapped you here in this dream world because
they're not in control.
Like there's no nothing.
Yeah.
There's no like explanation for anything. And well, why is Jenny trapped in the dream world now? And like, why is Diane even having these dreams? And so it's like this, it makes it so like nothing matters, nothing's believable. Like there's a part where like we think that she wakes up and she calls the boyfriend, or the boyfriend calls her and she answers the phone and we see him in bed with another woman.
Mm-hmm.
But then we go back into a dream sequence. So we're like, did that actually happen?
Yeah.
Or was that just something that she was believing happened because she was in a dream world? And they send her to like a dream hospital, which was really like, or like some sort of like psychiatric hospital, that she's able to just like get up and leave and walk out. Like it's all very messy.
Yeah.
It looks good. I think the actors did what the best they could, but I can't give this anything higher than a D+, borderline C-. So there you have it.
Yep.
All right, next, Maniac Killer. I don't know. Do I have a trailer here? I might. Let's see. This is available to watch on Tubi. Let me see if there is a trailer on Tubi for it. Maniac Killer. I feel like this is another one that in the trailer, it had like a different title. So I feel like I watched the trailer first to be like, oh, this is definitely going to be one of those ones where it's like, because the trailer looks so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Watch trailer. Here we go.
Stop! Stop or I'll shoot! Go!
They have blood on their hands and blood on their minds.
Mania!
I regret this incident. I truly do. Let's forget it. Let's have a good time. Let's dance.
Bo Svensson.
I told you once before, you leave my wife alone.
Please stop it!
Chuck Connors.
I'm gonna call the police.
And Robert Ginty in Mania. Some steal, others rob. They capture women. Mania!
Get your weapons.
There are no words to describe the tension and the horror of mania. Mania must be seen.
I can give you some words to describe it.
I got a few, yeah.
I got a few to tell you. So, original, maybe, I don't know if it's the original title, also known under the title Mania, as you heard in that trailer. And I love when you watch something on Tubi and you know how like it auto plays the trailer.
Yeah.
And it auto plays the trailer and then the name of the movie isn't even the same.
Yep. Yeah.
Maniac Killer or Mania. And I'm sure there's an Italian title, which I'll look up momentarily. 1987, starring Bo Svensson. Either way, he's been in a bunch of stuff over the years, probably most recently known for his part in Inglourious Bastard and Kill Bill Volume 2. But he's an actor that's, you know, he played Frankenstein, I think, in the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Or what was the TV movie that they did for Frankenstein? But yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Very well-known actor, especially in the 70s. You go back and look at his stuff. You got Chuck Connors, the rifleman himself. He should have played fucking Frankenstein in this movie.
It would have made it better. Yeah.
I know, right? Robert Ginty, which he was the lead in The Exterminator. He was in Warrior of the Lost Worlds, Black Sheep Squadron, Bounty Hunter. I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff that we've covered over the years on the show. The Exterminator is probably the best known thing for him. Suzanne Andrews, Stanley Kapoor, Dora Dahl, Henry Lampert. This is directed by Andrea Bianchi, who we know and we love from Burial Nights.
I was going to say Three Ninjas Knuckle Up or whatever the fuck that was.
He did that too?
That was the last one he did, apparently.
All right. Well, he was a Seduction of Angela, which is another, big. He was a big Italian trash director.
Yeah.
And he did Angel of Death. Burial Ground, Nights of Terror is probably what he's best known for. And of course, Chris, could you ever forget the fact that he also was the director of your first episode of OTC, Strip Nude for Your Killer?
Oh, really?
Yep.
That explains a lot about this movie.
Yep. He also did Cry of a Prostitute, which we had covered on the show at one point too. Okay. Murderous cult kidnaps prostitutes and tortures them to death to purify them of their evil ways. Local pimps send out to find them, as does a man whose girlfriend was also kidnapped by the cult and may still be held by them.
Yeah.
So you watch that trailer and you see a lot of shootouts. In the trailer, literally every single shootout in the movie is put into the trailer. And as you watch it, a good chunk of you will appreciate. Those of you that have seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, there's a shootout scene in one of the episodes where what's his name? I can't think of it. Robert Ayoade is standing there with the shotgun, is just pumping the shotgun and shooting just random directions, and he's not hiding. That's what these shootouts all look like to me.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing. But not played for the same comedic effect that they were in Garth Marenghi.
Yeah.
So this is another one of those movies where they were able to get Bo Svensson, Chuck Connors, and Robert Ginty, and they're like, we got these three washed up American actors.
Yeah.
They can each film one day.
Of course.
So we'll do this. Here's the story. So Svensson plays Count Silvano. Count of what? I don't know. Chuck Connors plays Professor Roger Osborne. His story is that he has moved to wherever this is supposed to be, somewhere in Italy, after leaving California as a disgraced scientist who was rumored to have been testing on women and killing them. Never proven. And then we have Robert Ginty playing Gaudrand, who is in love with the Count's wife for some reason or another.
Yeah.
We have Doreen, who plays Chuck Connors' helper / maid, I guess. And then the only other character that really matters is Matthew, who is played by Francois Grays. He's supposed to be the quote-unquote simple, mentally challenged character of the film.
Yeah.
Oh, right, Chris. Where do we go from here?
A different movie.
Yes. That would be so much easier to explain.
It would be.
So I guess one of the whatever, it doesn't matter. And here's a funny story. So you have the Count Silvano and you have Gaudrand. they have a party at the Count's house. Godwin is trying to take the Countess away, and he's like, hey, why don't you come away with me? I love you. You should be with me. And she's just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, you should come and be with me because, the Count doesn't respect you or whatever. And then the Count shows up and he's like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the Countess is basically like, nothing, it's fine, let's go. And then the Count says Godwin, he's like, hey, listen, stay the fuck away from my wife, as, any husband would do. And Godwin is like, well, she doesn't really want to be with you. And then they're like, well, Countess, is that true? And she's like, no, that's not true. And so the Count's like, how about you fuck off then? And he does one of those like the middle-aged over the hill actor, where it's like he pushes him down, but like he pushes him down into a chair so he doesn't fall on the ground and hurt himself.
Yep.
And he gets his guys to take him out of there. Meanwhile, they're torturing this girl in this basement.
Really,
she's a
terribly torturing her. Like, not terrible, like, oh my God, that's awful. Like, no, they're just bad at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we've got these two that are supposed to be the press. They show up at the Count's house, but they're actually
again.
But they're working for the kill cult. And the whole point of the cult is that they're torturing these girls to purify them, which makes no sense because then they end up kidnapping the Countess. And as far as we know, she's not a prostitute. And all she did was basically tell Godwin that she didn't want to be with him. But there's a funny point here, whereas I was watching this and it's only about an hour and 25 minutes long or so. And we get an hour into this movie, and I thought the Count was the one running the cult.
Yeah.
Because him and Godwin, Robert Ginty and Bo Svensson, both look so much alike that I forgot that they were different characters.
Right.
And then they showed up on screen when the Count is like trying to get into the house to be trying to find his wife.
Yeah.
And I find out that they're actually different people. It's like, I thought they were the same person.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
And meanwhile, Chuck Connors is over there with Matthew, and he's trying to run these scientific experiments. And at the end of the day, his story doesn't add anything to the movie.
Right.
They think he's the killer. They think he's the kidnapper because they heard because there's a scene early in the movie where they're in a pub or whatever, and you got the mailman and one of the other guys and two women, and they're like, "Did you hear about that woman that disappeared? I bet that doctor took her." Oh yeah. I heard he tortures and murders women at his place in the name of science, and they've got no proof or no anything. They're just like, yeah, that's what I heard. They disappear for 45 minutes or so, and then show up again when they see a woman riding off as the Countess, which is actually the girl that was pretending to be the press, dressed as the Countess so that people wouldn't know that she disappeared. But they went to the other place, so they all then show up at Chuck Connors' house because they were spying on his house, and they saw Matthew drag out a bag that looked like it was with a body, but it actually had a dead dog in it because he's experimenting on animals. And then all hell breaks loose. We got a couple of really bad gunfights. One guy randomly just is shooting out the window, and then he has a fucking grenade.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. It's a fucking mess.
It really is.
But the difference between this one and the mess that was Dream Demon was this one, they didn't fucking care.
No. And they're sort of proud of it, it looks like.
And it's much like knowing Bianchi's work. And if you've ever seen Strip Nude for Your Killer, Strip Nude for Your Killer is literally that giallo or Italian horror movie, however you want to look at it, where they took all of the shit, threw it at the wall at the same time, and whatever stuck stayed. Mm-hmm. And this movie is the exact same thing as that. So me, as the Italian trash apologist, like this a hell of a lot more than I like Dream Demon, even though Dream Demon is a much better made movie.
It is.
This is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. This is awful. But not making me angry levels of awful.
Right. Because they don't waste your time with anything for too long. And everybody that gets killed. Which is a
plus and a minus, by the way.
Right. This is the decision making of the characters is awesome. So all the police are at Chuck Connors' house, and Rifleman is basically like, listen, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't kidnap anybody. I didn't do this stuff. And they're like, okay. And he's like, all right, if you could hang on for a minute, I just got to go upstairs and get some paperwork. And the 4 cops are like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he just runs out the front door of the house. And there's one policeman standing at the police car, and he goes, hey, wait a minute. And then Chuck Connors just starts running away, and this guy just starts shooting a machine gun at him.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
as you do.
Stop or I'll shoot. And he just unloads a machine gun at Chuck Connors, manages to miss him.
Of course.
He's the only guy in the movie that missed any shot. Like,
well, it was 50 warning shots or whatever.
yeah, sure. But this has got that Italian charm that, like, yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But, like, you can tell that it was that, like, it's not that they didn't give a fuck. They were just like, well, fuck it.
It's almost like, they couldn't do better. That's how I see it.
They did the best they could with what they had.
And with the talent that they had, too, both script writing and behind the camera at the time. Yeah. Because
it's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the whole thing is like, so then they end up catching the Count, and they tie the Count up, and the Count is going to have to watch them torture his wife. But this guy Godrind is so bad at his torturing that, like, nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
And their cult is so poor, man. Like, it's just such a poor cult. One second they're wearing these, like, executioner hoods, and they've got this staff that's got it's like a gold staff with a gold snake on top of it that's obviously made of rubber and just glued to it, because every time they move the staff, it moves, it swings.
Yep.
And they're like, sometimes they do these weird prayers when they're going to torture, and then sometimes they don't. Sometimes they wear cloaks, and then sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a ritual involved, and sometimes it's just, we're going to just cut you. Like,
yeah. Oh, hey, let me see your bra. That was a big one in the beginning.
yeah. Yeah. And then the other part that's amazing is when one of the prostitutes gets kidnapped, and we talk like they did a bunch of murders. There was one kidnapping, one woman that was already there, and the Countess. So it wasn't like they were, like, clearing the countryside of all women of ill repute.
Right.
It was
right.
like, but, like, the pimp is, like, trying to find her.
Yeah.
And him and his boys show up and immediately get murdered. Like,
yeah. Also, the most Italian I saw this movie, the most Italian this movie was when the pimp goes to the cops to report her as a missing person. And they give him shit about it. Oh, you just want your source of income back. It's like, well, she's still a fucking person.
and she's still missing.
Yeah. And then they're like, get the fuck out of here. So he gets the fuck out of there. And then this sinister fucking cop calls his whoever, and he's like, there's a missing person out there, and she's a prostitute. Witness is not to be believed. It's like, dude, what the fuck? He said she's missing. At least, like, look. But that's Italian police for you in these movies.
Oh, man.
They're either singularly focused on catching the bad guy because of some past thing they have with them, or they just don't give a shit and go and drink J&B.
Yeah, there's a lot of J&B drinking in this too, so it checks all the boxes for Italian trash.
It does.
Oh, man. Okay, let's just All right, Chris, do you recommend and was your grade for Manic Maniac Killer? Let me also look up the other titles here while we're thinking of it.
It was released on
keywords,
VHS or something as Manic Killer, and it was misspelled. So it's everything.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Of course it was. Where's the other titles? Did you know? Critics Review.
I don't know if they even put them in there.
I don't actually,
because this doesn't even have a Wikipedia entry. So,
all right, fair.
No, I'm not going to recommend this. As soon as I finished watching this movie, I said to myself, I hope Bill remembers what this was about, because that didn't stick. As soon as I heard Simple Jack laughing, though, a lot of it came back. But still, it's like, it's awful to women. It's awful to men that care about women. It's awful to the mentally disabled. It's awful to pretty much everybody. I mean, I thought they were going to go with a little bit of a Burke and Hare kind of storyline, but not really.
No, not at all.
No, but like they were stealing bodies. There was maybe a little Frankenstein thing that was going to happen with your Igor character, but he was too far gone mentally to be able to like follow simple directions until later.
All those scenes of them trying to teach him to talk.
Yeah.
Like, why are they there? There's no point.
To fill the movie time because they didn't have an A story that was long enough.
Well, they did it so that at the end of the movie, he could say bad man.
You know, it worked better in Scrooged.
Fair enough.
So this is a D+. It's if you want garbage, this is garbage. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. I am going to recommend it.
I figured.
Because it's that type of trash, man. Like, it's not good. I'm not going to tell you that it's good, but it's that type of trash, that type of Euro trash from this time period. Actually, no, it's 10 years after the time period. It was 87.
Worse.
Like,
yeah.
It was 87. And I knew what I was in for when I started it. And the film opened on a still of a black cat for like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
With other random sound effects in the background and just the title over it.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So I knew what we were in for. It's bad. It's bad. But it's that type of bad that you can find some humor in. You can have a good time watching it because it's just ridiculous.
I can't
the
argue
shootout
that,
scenes
yeah.
alone. Watch the trailer. Just go on to Tubi because Tubi's free. Everyone can watch it on Tubi. Watch the trailer, and if you're like, oh yeah, then yeah, you'll enjoy it. But if you're like, oh no,
yeah,
then you won't.
I'm sure there is a scenario where I would enjoy this, but it's not watching it alone because I have to watch it for this week.
Fair enough. I, on the other hand, enjoyed it just because I had just watched Dream Demon, and I was like, oh, what a fucking mess.
Same for me too, and I'm like, oh, this isn't any better.
So as far as a grade, I'm going to give it that C- grade, but I'm going to recommend it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Speaking of recommended, did Joe enjoy the most recent, well, it's not the most recent, but his next installment in the Hellraiser series? Let's take a listen.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. Your boy Joe here, and, well, this week Bill took me to a place where I couldn't make a goddamn joke about anything, because it's really good. Spoiler alert. He made me watch Hellraiser Judgment. Today might be the first time, or at least the first time I can remember, watching the trailer to something Bill has made me watch before I watched it. After last week's straight-to-video shart on a first date, I needed to know what I was getting into on this fine Sunday morning. After Hellworld and Revelations made me hate a movie franchise that I previously loved, Judgment actually looks pretty good. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic here. Especially since I seem to remember both of you saying that while Judgment doesn't hold a candle to the first few movies, it's at the very least not bad. At
Especially
this point
if you're
in the
going in
series,
order.
not bad is a beacon of hope in the near distance, and I will fucking take it. Based on the look of the film from the trailer, it looks like how I imagined in my head the Scarlet Gospels would look when I read it. Like, I know some Barker fans didn't like that book, but fuck you, I loved it. Then again, this movie was written by the guy who wrote Revelations, so I'm a little wary. I'm also wary of some schmuck named Paul Taylor playing Pinhead. I'm going to try to reserve Judgment. Get out of here. I'm reserving Judgment on Paul, but like the kid from Night of the Creeps, I'm looking at Paul Taylor right in the eyes and saying, impress me. Now I just kind of want to watch Night of the Creeps. I fucking love that movie. If this thing is even half as good as Night of the Creeps, I will be thrilled. Okay, listen. The first 15 minutes of this film before the credits even roll was better than the last 3 movies put together. A child molester and killer is lured to a house, and ruh-roh, a bunch of really fucked up shit is going to happen before you are dispatched to your, quote, reward, unquote. Like, they actually use that term to describe what's happening and what awaits him, and it's really creepy. Like, all the while, Pinhead sits on a stone chair, looking bored, which placates my knowing that Pinhead would not give a single solitary fuck for the bureaucracy of heaven and hell, but understands that they have procedures to follow. So far, this is worth it for the aesthetic and the visuals alone. Like, I'll get into that bureaucracy thing a little bit later. It's really interesting. Best part of the film. Well, someone really likes the movie Seven. Like, so far, that's the only thing I'm knocking this movie for. And if ripping off another really good movie to make a similar but different really good movie is the only thing I see wrong here, well, there are worse movies you could use as your framework. It's just too bad none of the three detectives here have the smooth, bassy tones of Morgan Freeman. It'd be pretty cool if the lady cop did, though. So, two of the detectives are brothers, and are you ready for this originality? One of them is a super straight-laced, like, three-piece suit, not a hair out of place guy, while the other brother is Mr. 5 o'clock shadow, I've got troubles at home, should have been played by Garrett Dillahunt. Let's call them Simon and Simon. If you get that reference, congratulations. Your back and at least one of your knees is probably always low-level throbbing in pain. Welcome to the club. They are joined by attractive lady detective, who, again, I wish had the voice of Morgan Freeman. And you can tell that this character and this actress was just thrown in there because she doesn't really add anything to any scene she's in. And her dialogue is, like, notably worse and or more bland than every other character around her. Like, she's detective, executives told us we need to add a lady cop, so let's just, like, squeeze her in where we can. And doesn't do the character or the actress, who's pretty good, any justice. There's 2 minor strikes so far, movie. I'm enjoying you, so just, keep your shit together. So this whole time they've been chasing a serial killer called the Preceptor. That's the bit where someone bought the anniversary director's cut of Seven I mentioned earlier because he's killing people according to their sins and whatnot. There's like one really cool, disturbing, and kind of gory touch in the first victim that we see. Like, I don't remember, it's like on a voicemail or a recording somewhere where she says she worships her little dog and she's worshiping, it's the whole false idol thing. But when the cops find her body, the fucking dog is sewn up alive in her stomach. Like, okay, movie, I see we're not holding back here. I dig what you're putting down. I'll spare you the police procedural stuff because it kind of slows the movie down a little bit. I mean, that's just going to happen. It's just not nearly as bad as it could have. But I'm so on guard now with Hellraiser films that every time they would cut to one of those, I'm like, I would tense up and just wait for it to get bad. That's what you've done to me, Bill. That's what okay, not you. That's what the Hellraiser franchise has done to me. Turns out the scruffy brother detective is the Preceptor. Yada yada. But the most intriguing character and scenes here are with a different faction of hell from the Cenobites called the Stygian Inquisition. They are kind of like hell's accountants. We see the auditor and the assessor, but there's also the surgeon and the butcher, and it's all really cool. Mostly this is where the movie shines. They give us enough to learn more about that world and make us want to learn even more without giving us 100% of the whole story on the nose. And now that Scruffy Simon has been revealed as the killer, his scene with the auditor and the assessor early in the film makes a lot of sense, and it's just, fuck, when this movie's good, and not 100% of it is good. No, I won't joke with you. It seems like I'm loving this film, and I am, but I don't know.
Taking it with a grain
I
of
wish
salt.
I could crack a joke about any of this, but it's such a breath of fresh air after five
what it is.
really bad Hellraiser films. I'm just happy to enjoy this. I'm just giddy that I'm watching a movie that doesn't suck. And the ending. The last 20 minutes of this movie are just great. They're just great. I'm sorry this review was about as funny as waking up with a screaming headache and then stubbing your toe on the way to the bathroom, but I haven't enjoyed a movie this much, I don't know, maybe since I watched the 2022 Hellraiser remake on Hulu. But that's next week. I left out the best parts of the story on purpose. The parts where the factions of hell and a representative from heaven all conspire and backstab and play political games. Because if you haven't seen this, If you didn't watch this because, like me, you assumed it would be garbage, trust me. Dear listener, if you've ever trusted my opinion, this film is worth watching. Here's the thing. The Good. It's a great looking film. There's great gore. It's a lot of practical gore. The most acceptable non-Bradley Pinhead so far. Mm-hmm. I say so far because we all know what's coming. And the story doesn't slow down too much by its exposition. Does a little, but not as bad as it could have. Also, and I just thought about this, I did not write this down. This is off the dome. You remember how in the first couple Hellraiser films, whenever they would do like electricity, somebody open up the box and there'd be like electrical discharges, and it just looked like somebody just took a light pen and drew on the film and it looked like garbage? Yep. They actually did it right here, finally. It only took them 10 films, but they finally got there with actually making electrical discharges look good. The bad. It is pretty derivative of a handful of religious-based thrillers. Hellraiser Judgment was like a bowl of chocolate cherry ice cream after 5 weeks of eating an off-brand hot dog from the floor of my chicken coop. Big pass for this film. I'll be back next week with Hellraiser from 2022. Boy, this series has been a fucking doozy. I'll try to crack some jokes next week. Until then, be good, everyone.
Nice. I'm going to have to revisit that because I really don't remember it.
I really enjoyed the fleshing out of what else goes on in hell. I like the idea of them becoming To Catch a Predator kind of thing. But what I don't like is that they chose a denomination for them to be a part of, because there's an angel and there's talk of God. And I liked the interdimensional torture monsters better than demons from hell.
Okay.
So, but then Scarlet Gospels kind of does the same thing and introduces Satan. So, whatever. It's not my stories.
Fair enough.
Fine.
Speaking of telling stories, here's Reverend Scott. Well, yeah, hopefully we've turned the corner and we've got nice spring weather. Not that we get a whole lot of good spring weather, but
no, we get like 10 good days and then rain, and then it's 85 for 6 days in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it drops to like 30 for a week.
Yeah, just to fuck with you right in the middle of May, right?
Just enough to get your allergies out of control, and then you know what? You're going to get a cold on top of it.
Yeah.
So
let's see, what is it? What is the low going to be this week?
I think it's like 40s or like high.
That's 43 isn't bad.
No, 43 is not bad.
No.
You're right. 43 is not bad.
All right.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott.
Now that you've had weather talk with Bill and Chris, let's move on to movies.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
Okay, good.
And I got a lot of clips for this fucking Blue Thunder movie to get through before we can even talk about the epic sequel that I saw in the theater. So I'm going to jump right into it.
Okay, good.
Let's start with the trailer.
You're supposed to be stupid, son. Don't abuse the privilege.
That's good enough. You get the point.
Yeah, that's
Blue Thunder, 1983.
That's when they
Roy Schneider.
really up the ante on trailers.
I agree. So somehow I was not aware of this when I was a kid, maybe due to the fact that I was only 5 years old when it came out. So as you could probably guess, I was always more into Airwolf.
Airwolf could be a fucking traffic helicopter for all I care.
Blasphemy. Jesus Christ. Let's just move on. So, who's in this Blue Thunder helicopter?
Basically, they're flying fascists.
They come. Yes.
And I'm guessing this thing is high tech too. Tell me about your favorite tech on Blue Thunder.
Even when the Blue Thunder goes into stealth mode, it's still very loud.
I love that. It's such a stupid idea. It's such a sci-fi idea that they can flip a switch and all of a sudden it goes from to like fucking use that all the time.
What would the switch do?
Yeah.
What would the switch do?
I don't know. Turn off the rotors.
We're very silent as we fall to our death.
That does sound very high tech. But don't get me wrong, we all know why you really used to like this flick.
And I don't understand what I mean, it was the helicopter. It was the chopper.
Yep.
The chopper was cool, and so I was like, oh yeah, I guess this lady's naked or whatever.
Although Chris was apparently more drawn to the office supplies aspect of this film.
There's a lot of papers flying around in this movie.
So anyway, there's a bad guy in this, and they don't even remotely try to hide it.
So immediately, it's 1980s, Malcolm McDowell's a bad guy, this guy's up to no good.
100%. Leather jacket, smarmy attitude. Like he knew 2 years before this movie came out that he was going to be a bad guy in this. And you didn't even hear about the movie.
Although one could argue that the filmmakers themselves were also kind of the bad guys.
They might as well have just made the cutouts that were the bad guys black.
Or yeah,
is there a way to make a cardboard cutout look Hispanic? Because that's exactly what they're going for.
They didn't want to put the money into tying turbans onto all of them.
And despite how racist all that basically was, here's the crazy part.
They're doing real stunts over the city of LA with real helicopters.
It's the most insane thing. No exaggeration. This is insane. No one would sign off on this today. The whole time I'm like, holy shit, there's people in this shot. What is happening?
Crazy.
It was
crazy.
Reckless. It looked like it was reckless. It probably wasn't. But again, it was the 80s, so who fucking knows?
1983 to be specific, the same year the Twilight Zone movie released, which involved the real-life deaths of 3 actors in a helicopter crash. So who knows how lucky these filmmakers were even to get to complete that final sequence. Pretty lucky, I bet. But the buck stops here because I give Blue Thunder a D-, because it's not Airwolf. Fuck you. But the review, that gets a B. And speaking of D-,
next we have Mario Bava's Lisa and the Devil.
Tell me what this masterpiece is all about, Bill.
This film is a mess.
Okay, then how about you, Chris?
I watched half of it and then started over, and I still don't think I could give you a decent synopsis of this movie.
Just try, Chris.
Telly Savalas is the devil.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. And why is he the devil? And what does this have to do with Lisa?
She immediately sees Telly Savalas and is like, that guy looks just like the fresco of the devil. That's fucking weird. I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah, that's fair.
And what does Telly Savalas say?
Go, you're the love of my life.
So now I'm confused. How could Lisa say no to this? First of all, it's the devil, so that's rad. And second of all...
Oh, we got Telly Savalas, and in 73, he was hot.
Damn right he was.
He had a lollipop in this movie, so you'd know that he sucks.
Damn right he does. Okay, wrap up the rest of this story for me.
A whole bunch more confusing stuff happens, and then a whole bunch of nothing happens.
For a while.
Sounds good. I give Lisa and the Devil an F+, because the only good part was the visuals, and I couldn't see it. The review, that gets a B+. Okay, enough about that nonsense. What nonsense did I go see in the IMAX theater last weekend? You guessed it, I saw Too Dune, Too Furious, starring Willy Wonka, Drax, Thanos, MJ, Elvis, Oppenheimer's mistress, and that crazy scientist from Thor and Chernobyl, plus Christopher Walken playing Christopher Walken desperately trying not to be too Christopher Walken.
It actually kind of makes sense.
And of course, my girlfriend Rebecca Ferguson, who I thought was tall, but she's actually 5'5" because she's a really good actress. So, did you see Dune 1? Did you like Dune 1?
Delightful.
Nice.
Yeah, it really was.
Then I think it's safe to say that you'll also enjoy Dune 2. So, as you might have guessed already, we get more stunning desert visuals in this, which I'm sure was hot as, well, you know.
Welcome to hell!
The special effects and sound were impressive. I mean, that bass was shaking my fucking seat. The acting was top notch, especially from Elvis, playing the son of the big old fat baron. He's a fucking nutbag, and I rather enjoyed that. And since this is a new movie, yet an old story, I won't really get into too much of the story aspect. Just know that this has a conclusion, yet it sets up at least one more film at the same time. Not sure that's confirmed or not. I mean, I haven't heard anything, but have you heard if we're getting a third film yet?
No, but
Yes.
fucking hell, we better.
It's not exactly a hard movie to follow, yet it is a bit complicated at the same time. Some people may end up thinking,
It just gets
stopped,
like it.
I stopped giving a shit after a certain point. It was convoluted just to be convoluted.
also be aware that this is a 2 hour and 46 minute long movie. So add in previews and stuff, and you're going to be there for like 4 fucking hours. And let me tell you, as good as this movie was, it felt like 4 fucking hours. There's some intense action and gripping character moments, good tension, and jaw-dropping scenery.
And that's not good enough for me.
Right. None of that's going to help us at all.
It still feels so long. And unlike something like, I don't know, Return of the King, I don't know if I could watch this again anytime soon. All that being said, I do recommend seeing Dune 2. It directly continues and builds on the story from part 1, and it's certainly a wild ride, especially if you like seeing dudes hooked onto giant worms.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think I'll give this a straight B. It's got the wow factor, yet I still feel like I wanted more. Okay, that's about it for this week.
Thank fuck, this is finally almost over.
I feel the same way, Joe. And it's just like Chris always says.
And you said the same thing that I always said, which was what?
Oh, I don't remember.
So until then, peace and love, guys. Outside the cinema, now streaming exclusively on OnlyFans.
We're going to have nudity, so here you go.
Oh, my room smells like dog farts. We're watching my mother-in-law's dog for this week. Well, I say we're watching. Mel's away. I'm watching. I'm watching the dog, and she is a lot. They're both asleep right now, so I'll take that. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/outside the cinema. Send us messages there if you want to request some films and stuff like that. Supporting the show keeps it alive. We appreciate that. And I feel like that's really, Facebook group, whatever, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, we'll be back next week. We'll do some more movies.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.